this meeting to order. The regular meeting of the Leominster Conservation Commission, 25 West Street. Oh, I don't need to read that. February 25th, 2020. The time is 6 p.m. First on our agenda is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. There will be a public hearing to consider a notice of intent for James Exaris for the development of a single-family residential house within the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. Address is Lot 3, Mary Ave Extension, map 419, Lot 23, DEP file number 199-1085. I'm also going to just read in pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended. There'll be a public hearing to consider a notice of intent for James Exaris for the construction of a three-lot residential subdivision with associated roadway utilities. The eastern portion of the project is within the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. Address is 1157R, map 419, lot 23, DEP file number 199-1086. The applicant has asked for a continuance on both of these. We're just waiting to hear back from our independent review. So they asked for a continuance until that time. All right, so the next hearing, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. There'll be a public hearing on a notice of intent for the construction of retaining walls, shed, and deck, demolishing and replacement. The project includes planting new vegetation. Address is 8 Nutting Drive, Assessor's Map 527, Parcel 40.
Good evening. For the record, Jim Seal, Handling and Engineering, and certified agent on the butters. On behalf of the applicant, Ross Point, Handling and Engineering has prepared a notice of intent package for review by this commission. The proposed work is located at 8 Nutting Drive along the northerly side of Nutting Drive. The proposed work is for the construction and improvements to the single-family lot. Currently, the lot contains a single-family home along with an associated driveway. Within the general area surrounding the house and driveway exists a maintained lawn area. For the remaining portion of the site, exists woodland along the perimeter of the property, and in between the woodland and the maintained lawn area is an area of brush scrub area. Areas subject to protection under the Act were reviewed and delineated by Karen Environmental in December of 2019. And the area is found to be a 4-acre vegetated wetland located in the northeasterly portion of the lot, as depicted by the red line over here. It's the intention of the applicant to remove the existing deck at the rear of the house and construct an 18 by 20 deck in its place. To the northeast of the house, the areas will be regraded and 2 small landscape retaining walls will be installed in place, and that will provide a more gradual slope and better grading for access to the backyard. The lower retaining wall will be a little over 3 feet, and the upper retaining wall will be just under 2 feet. There will be access from this lower area via stairs to the area at the top of the retaining wall. And additionally, from the proposed deck, stairs will go down to the top of the retaining wall as well as the lower area of the lot. There is a proposed 12 by 10 shed. Will be constructed over in this area. And the brush scrub area located in this area is going to be removed and pushed back to this limit plan over here. It's found that it contains the invasive species, and we removed as part of the work. On the completion of the construction, all the disturbed areas will be loamed and seeded for permanent stabilization. Temporary mitigation measures will remain in place until the project is complete. As this work is related to a single-family home, Mass DEP stormwater management standards do not apply, and we have received our DEP file numbers, and they have no comments for us. If there are any questions or comments that I can address, yeah, to do so.
Is there anyone from the commission that has any questions? What is the distance between the erosion controls and the wetland?
So the closest point of, between the erosion control and the wetland is 20 feet.
Okay.
And then I may have missed this, is the deck that is being put on, is that bigger than the one that's currently there?
Yes. The proposed deck is gonna be 18 by 20. I do not have a scale on me, but
It's 10 by 10.
it's originally 10 by 10.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if some of the newer commissioners may know this, but this project has been before us 3 other times for the original build of the house. So the deck would technically be exempt because it's in the outer 80 and it's already on an existing house. And then also technically the stream is labeled as perennial on the topographic maps, but it was determined at the meeting back in 2017, I believe, that it's actually an intermittent stream. This was brought before us for an enforcement order for the clearing of the brush originally, and so this is kind of like to remediate that problem.
And have you been out there to take a look at the wetland delineation?
I do confirm the wetland delineation, I do agree with it. Mr. Karen also included a wetland report, which I do agree with.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission?
I apologize. What's the closest point of disturbance to the wetland?
Between the erosion control
Okay,
and the
the
wetland is
20
20 feet. Yes.
All right. With that, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this? Anyone in the audience for a second time?
Just one quick comment.
Yes. Yep.
Please state your name and address, please.
Patrick Cotton, speaking on behalf of John Cotton at 10 Nutting Drive. Just wanted to just confirm the distance between the property line for 10 Nutting Drive and the proposed shed. It appears it's around, I think I scaled it off around like 7 feet, just to meet the 5-foot buffer requirement.
I can confirm that, but for the record, Chris Anderson, Hannigan Engineering. Because it's a detached shed with no living structure, it has to be a minimum of 5 feet, so we set it approximately 7 feet off the property line. So that setback is being met.
Sounds good, thank you.
I may have missed this, but do the retaining walls require a building permit? Are they gonna be above 4 feet?
Again, no, the retaining walls won't need a building permit. The top one's only 18 inches, a little bit more, and then the other one's 3.5, so we're well below that 4-foot range.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this? Third and final time? Is anyone from the commission? Is this something you're comfortable with? We want to vote on it tonight, or? All right, if there's no further questions, I'm going to declare the public comment period closed. Bring it back to the commission. Do we have a recommendation from the agent?
Yes, I recommend that we issue an order of conditions for DEP file number 1991108 with our traditional boilerplate and with the added conditions added conditions of the pre-construction meeting as built in 40-hour notice to the agent.
Okay. Any further discussion or a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we issue the order of conditions for 8 Nutting Drive with our standard boilerplate and the added conditions that our agent just mentioned.
Any other discussion or a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Moving on, we have pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, there will be a public hearing on a notice of intent for the expansion of an existing two-family house and driveway in the wetland buffer zone. Address is 220 Hall Street, Assessors Map 555, Parcel 7.
My name is Anthony Cleves, I'm with Whitman Bingham Associates on behalf of Lynn Gould, the property owner. Ms. Gould is also here as well. Pass out a little GIS, give you some familiarity with the area. Property is at 220 Hall Street. If you're familiar with Hall Street at all, it's where Hall Street and Abbott Ave kind of intersect each other. Abbott Ave runs basically from Route 2 kind of towards Northwest School and the hospital. So, you can see on the GIS, it's highlighted in red as the property. It's an existing developed residential lot. It's an existing two-family house. The proposed project is to add 15 feet to the rear of the house. There's an existing drive under garage currently. So as part of that addition, it would be adding a bay to that garage. So in order to adequately get vehicles into that third bay, expanding the existing paved driveway for a portion. The wetlands are in the rear of the west side of the property, and highlighted in purple in the sheet in front of you and also here. Basically, all the work takes place within the existing lawn area. It's already been developed, it's already been cleared. You can see kind of out in the back, there's a wood/brush line right behind the back of an existing shed. The wetlands are just a little bit behind there. So the actual finished product construction, the closest point is the new paved driveway about 70 feet away from the closest point of the wetlands. The erosion control ends up being about 60 feet or so, just to give enough room for any kind of construction vehicles that may need to get back there, just access to the back of the building in order to do the construction. We're proposing, in this case, just a straw wattle for the erosion control. The disturbance should be pretty minimal. You know, it's just gonna be mostly foundation work and then some disturbance for the driveway. The grades that exist back there on the existing lawn, it's about 5%, so it's not excessive grade, so didn't feel as though we needed to go with the silt fence and basically create more disturbance digging the silt fence in. Didn't feel as though maybe it was warranted, but I wanted to make sure I pointed that out in case the commission wanted to discuss that. Another just a item to bring up is an existing drain line, if you hadn't picked up on it yet, on the plan, that picks up drainage from Hall Street, Abbott Ave corner. So it comes from a catch basin, an existing 15-inch corrugated metal pipe that comes out and discharges out in the back of the lot. I met with the DPW before finalizing the plan. It is their pipe. They have an easement. The easement's just a little bit off the pipe. So I talked with them before we submitted to make sure if they had any concerns or anything, we wanted to address that before we submit it to you guys. And in speaking with the DPW, they said that they would put it on their list of drains to repair on this upcoming construction season this spring. As it is a little bit outside where we're supposed to be with the easement and the age of the pipe, the corrugated metal pipe, it's probably not in the best of shape. So they were gonna have their stormwater team take a look at it, camera it, and put on the list to try and move that pipe, hopefully in the beginning of spring, so that it gets it out of the way and doesn't really become an issue for the construction of the addition. So we had that discussion. They seem to be okay with what we're doing and actually gonna try and get some of their stuff done beforehand, which was great. That's the brief summary. If you have any questions.
Just looking at this, I don't have a problem at all with the not doing the silt fence, based on the elevations. My question would be about stockpiling soils only.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Where would they be located on site?
So you could probably put it in the driveway area, because the last thing you're gonna do is finish off that driveway, because otherwise you'll be banging her up. So, you know, the spoils from this.
Oh, you can just pull it back, okay.
You know, I should put it, this is actually a walkout basement as well. So the excavation in here isn't gonna be like you would for a full basement, it's a walkout. So more than likely, it's gonna have a 4-foot frost wall
Okay.
around there, so that'll help reduce
Yeah.
some of the spoils. It's a great point though. So more than likely, we can just put everything right in this area here, you know, for that.
So you'd be okay if that was a condition, just to have it stockpiled in location of the proposed?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't think they have an issue.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Cleese, I remember when we went on the site visit, there is a drain in the driveway, correct?
Yes, yep, sorry, I didn't think of pointing out. So there's an existing, little mini catch basin, right at the corner.
I was
Yeah,
just gonna ask you if that was a
Good job
catch
doing
basin.
Yeah, it's a, you know, it's not like a full precast concrete catch basin. It's a little, maybe 18 inches by 18 inches. Basically, there's a pipe that comes into it this way, which is probably the foundation drain of the house. And everything that comes down the driveway pitches right to that little low point there. And then, there's a pipe that heads out. We couldn't find it out back there, but knowing the history of the area, I know pretty sure there's a pipe that discharges on that occasion. So what we're proposing to do is just basically replace that drain. It's in kind of rough shape, but basically everything would still pitch to that as it does now. And the new foundation drain for this, we're just proposing to connect to that existing drain and utilize that existing pipe.
So would that be, would that be open while you're doing construction? Like, my concern would just be if we're stockpiling soil in the driveway and then there's that little mini catch basin that's discharging.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that we're just surrounding it with something, but when you say that you're replacing it, are you actually replacing that or
Yeah,
just?
what you're doing right there
pipe?
is it.
Okay,
It's literally
it's small,
this.
yeah.
It's like concrete block, you know, just,
Like a
Okay.
tile
yeah,
almost.
Okay.
it's very small. But I mean, good point, we could,
That or just
we could
making
even put
sure
some
that.
filter fabric or something over it, yeah, I don't expect a lot of disturbance coming this way, because this is all gonna stay existing paved, and this disturbance, if anything, is gonna go that way. But it's a good point, we can,
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, that or just if stockpiled stuff is gonna stay there for a
Yeah.
little while,
and we can have a condition, surround the stockpile
surrounding
with some
that or covering
some
it,
straw wattles.
if it's gonna be left overnight or something, I just think is always a good idea because especially with
tarp
like,
or something.
I don't know when this is gonna be done, but with spring coming
Hopefully
and
soon,
rain
yeah.
and stuff,
Yeah,
I just don't wanna see that like,
yeah, if you have a prolonged stockpile.
right, and then have it wash into everything that you're trying to
Sure.
do and
Again,
That really
I think
would
the
be
spoils
all.
shouldn't be excessive.
Shouldn't be a lot,
That seems
yeah.
like it should be a pretty easy thing to do, whether it be adding additional erosion control around the stockpile or just tarping it, you know, with the big tarp, that'll help.
Yeah, either or,
Yeah.
I would be fine with, I've just seen it happen a lot.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I
So
don't-
just, if it's gonna sit overnight, I just like to see it at least surrounded,
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah,
My name is Chairman, Ms. Lansing, that is also one of the conditions on our boilerplate anyways, but I can add it, I can copy it again on the special conditions as well.
Oh, no, that's fine, I just didn't actually.
Well, it's always good to add, you know,
Yeah,
repeat
it is.
yourself then.
yeah, no, but it's
Yeah.
good to bring it up.
I just wanted to make
so,
sure, yeah.
Cool.
Anyone else in the commission?
I do just want to say, as part of I'm on the stormwater team, it's myself and Sean Como from DPW that handle a lot of the MS4 permitting stuff. He actually brought this up to me, I think, on the 16th. We met at a different detention basin and we were discussing this project before Mr. Cleves even brought to my attention. We're going to schedule time to go out there and take a look at it. My one concern is obviously we want to remove the drain, if that's the case, remove the drain and move it over before you guys get it, because we don't want, or, you know, we wanna make sure we coordinate at some
We
point.
would like that too.
So I'd like, I know we typically do a 48-hour notice, but maybe a little bit more notice before you guys start work, just in case. So if we need to speed up, and we'll notify you guys as well. I think that would be my recommendation, just so we can all be on the same page and not cause more disaster to the space where you guys live
So-
than necessary.
What are you talking about, time, how many?
We don't know at this time because the way the DPW scheduling works is we don't know how long winter's gonna be, and so we have to wait for a certain time for them to be able to camera the line to see what the state of it is, and then if it's gonna be just a repair or if it's gonna be repair and replace. So it takes a little more evaluating at this time. So we have to kind of wait for nicer weather before we can do that.
But I mean, if we're gonna ask them for,
Well, that's why I'm asking for
Notice,
them
I
to
mean-
notify me before they do, so I can
Yeah.
notify, so I can work with DPW to try and get out there sooner rather than later.
okay. So not necessarily with the order, but just in
Yeah,
general?
just in
like,
general, just to kind of,
communicate the timeline.
Just,
Okay,
if we're all gonna be out there working, we might as well work together.
okay. Anyone else from the commission?
I got a quick question. You mentioned a third bay in this garage. Does the garage as well go into the new addition, or is that just living area?
Yeah, no, so what happens, so this is you come down this driveway, and there's 2 bays here that are actually, you know, underneath the first and second floor here, and then it goes into the basement.
Right.
So this addition, this is a walkout basement now, so this addition is at that same grade, so it'll be a third bay to drive into that, into the garage.
Okay.
And then there would be living space above that.
All right. Yep. So let's go back to that small drain.
Yep.
Would it be prudent to move that drain further down the proposed driveway so that you're not driving over it?
Yeah, I mean, it's, we could, you move it down here,
Well, if you don't move it, you're gonna have to have that driveway sloping both towards it and away from it, right?
right, which is, it slopes down to it now, and then this would slope back into it.
Why not move the drain to the end of the proposed driveway?
You could do that, and then try and berm it up a little bit. What happens is, as you continue the grade down, now you're gonna have, because this all has to be at the same elevation of the
Right.
garage,
Mhm.
so that just becomes, you'd have a little bit of a dip, because this is a little bit lower now, and then it just gets a little bit lower there, but I think it's still
What's
possible to do.
What's the compass elevation on that side? Is that north side or?
On this side, the west side, or,
That garage, that proposed new garage door, is that facing the west?
north. So you come, it's everything, this is the whole front of the garage.
Would that be good to get all that water out of there? It's only gonna freeze.
Yeah, yeah,
And I don't know what the depth of that drain is, but driving over.
it's about
it-
2 feet.
Really?
Yeah. 2.5 feet, yeah.
I'd like to see the drain go to the end of the
Sure.
driveway,
Yeah, we can do that.
just to get the water away from the doors and not have a problem driving over the drain.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, no, we can do that, that's. See any issue with that?
Any other questions from the commission? All right, this time I'll open up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak relative to this proposal? Second time? Third and final time? Does the commission feel comfortable voting on this tonight? All right, I declare the public comment period closed if there's no more comments. All right, bring it back to the commission. Why don't we start with, just, do we have a recommendation from the agent?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I recommend that the commission issue an order of conditions for DEP file number 199-1109 with our general boilerplate, as well as the special conditions that any materials will be stored on the driveway, added erosion controls from our general boilerplate as well, just in case as necessary, and then work coordinating with the DPW and Conservation Department for the drain repair as agreed upon, and then the drain will be moved to the end of the driveway by the new addition.
All right, do, any further discussion or a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we issue an order of condition for 220 Hall Street, DEP 199-1109, with our standard boilerplate as well as the added conditions that our agent just stated.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Great. Thank you very much for your time and your comments, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving along, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, there'll be a public hearing on a notice of intent for the installation of a gravity sewer service to an existing dwelling. The work will cross a stream on an existing bridge and will be within the riverfront area. Address is 181 Exchange Street, Assessors Map 126, Parcel 6.
Hi, my name is James McWalter, I'm the applicant. Working with Stampsky of McNary, the civil engineer. I produced this drawing here. I don't have a large color drawing, I apologize. Do you have a, would you like me to use that, or does anyone, I brought 2 copies, I don't know if you need
If you want
one.
to, if we can get the large one up on the board, that way they can
Okay.
show it on the.
Here's a couple
Yeah,
then.
we can share.
So I purchased this home several months ago, and with the intent of renovating. The existing lot home was on a cesspool, which I have emptied already, and will, according to the requirements, crush the bottom of that and then fill it. The proposal is to, instead of having the existing cesspool, which is not compliant, is to run a gravity sewer line and tie into the existing out at Exchange Street. The complication is that it does cross a small stream here. I think I spoke to you maybe, no? Several months ago about this?
Slack.
I believe you stopped by and you had you looked at the file.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
And I spoke to several people in the town engineer, and the preferred method of solid waste, or that waste from this home, is to go through the sewer instead of putting a septic tank, which would have to go all the way up into this area nearer to the high school, and be pumped uphill to that. So understanding the complication of going over a stream, the plan is to bring it down. All of this is my property here, cross over the stream. There is an existing bridge, and then the details call for how to fasten it with stainless steel straps and fasteners to the existing bridge. We do have sill fence with straw wattle. I call it straw wattle, they call it filler mitt, here and here to protect that stream during the excavation and trenching process. This is my first time presenting to a board, so I don't know what else I can offer as far as details to you, but I am a builder, so I'm very familiar with the process. So I guess I'll open it to your questions.
I guess I have one question, is this like double wall, like how did?
Yeah, so, sorry, yes, the, when we get to exposed pipe, it will be double walled, just to protect it, double protect it.
Yeah.
The engineer has called for some rigid insulation where the coverage is less than 4 feet. In my experience, I find that to be a little overkill, but that's what he proposed, and so if you guys require that, then I'll make sure that we comply. It will cross the domestic water line coming in, and there is a detail for encasing that in concrete, you know, within 10 feet of each side of that intersection.
No, we've had a few of these in the past, and they needed some kind of like electrical, like some kind of heat in order to make sure it doesn't freeze in the winter, because it's gonna be exposed, is that?
On the sewer line, having discussed that with the civil engineer and with the city engineer, they said that wouldn't be required.
Okay. I mean,
It's a gravity line, and
Yeah.
not to get too graphic, but that pipe actually does generate heat coming back up
Yeah.
from the street.
Okay.
So the likelihood of that freezing is,
okay.
nil.
I know, there was, I think when they came in recently that they had to do that, so that's the only reason I asked.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have a couple comments. I didn't realize until about 5 o'clock this afternoon that that was Slack Brook, because in the application it said unnamed stream. So Slack Brook has been designated as a cold water fishery. So I don't recommend that we vote on it tonight because we do need to evaluate if there's any additional permit requirements from the state, because I don't believe the state recognized that as well because it wasn't in the permit. That was a cold water fishery.
Okay. Did you I received this today, the DEP NOI file number.
So I received that as well,
Okay.
but also, so in your permit, it just says unnamed brook, it doesn't say the actual name of the brook, so when they wouldn't search for the actual brook name.
Okay.
In that case, so I didn't realize it was Slack Brook until this afternoon at 5 o'clock when I was just looking, I was like, wait a minute, that's Slack Brook. So I do need to talk to the state and make sure there's not any additional requirements for this permit.
Because of the designation of that.
Of the cold water
Okay.
fishery, as well, I do have some questions about, I guess, construction and building.
Okay.
How will you attach it to the side of the bridge, right?
Correct.
So are you going to need to be in the water at all?
To actually perform that work. The intent is not to go in the water, is actually to go from the bridge down, top down, yeah.
Okay, I only ask because since it's a cold water fishery, we do have various species of trout and brook that do go through there, and I believe when you came, I showed you the file, the city has an easement from one point on, because they had to do severe erosion control. Before I started here, Larry and Paul were here, and Liz were here, but the bank was basically collapsing for a while, and that, it was a high risk for the city to lose
I think
the
further
sewer.
down,
It is further down.
yeah, you can still see that actually as you drive up that road,
Yeah,
almost
so-
looks like it's still
Yes,
eroding
they had
there.
made, for the wildlife protection for the cold water fishery and the fish, there are, different fish area, like egg laying areas, the fish are able to kind of rest and lay eggs
Yeah.
down the stream, so I just wanted to make sure that for what would be no work, in the stream bed.
No, we won't be
Okay.
going into the water. We will get near the river's edge here and here as we install not only the silt fence, but to maybe set up some staging across the top there. But we won't enter the water.
And will there be any tree removal?
There is
I
a
think
dead,
there's a dead tree, I saw that.
yeah, there is a dead tree that I assume you'd want it gone anyway. It would be in the way. It was a massive tree at one point, but the stump is only about 12 feet tall now. But it is 3 or 4 feet around. It was a big tree. It's completely dead though.
Okay. And then one more question, because I did send out an email to the health director, Chris Knuth, as well as John Roseberry, just because it is a sewer line, it will be extended, and they've both been here for a very long time. There was this one question, is why you wouldn't run up the driveway? And I assume it's because the bridge would be very difficult to actually work in. Run the sewer line,
trench
like,
through the driveway?
Yeah, instead of going through on the side for additional protection. He was just wondering if that was a possibility.
The construction of that bridge, there are steel beams that go underneath
Okay.
there, and to affect the integrity of that bridge would be
That's what I
problematic.
presumed, but I just wanted to ask the question as well. I haven't heard back from Mr. Roseberry.
I spoke to him actually several months ago also about this.
Do you have anything in writing, or could you, would that be,
With
just to
regard-
say that's not an alternative? It would be nice to have just on the file? If do you have,
I don't have anything in writing as a builder.
Yeah.
And I've done hundreds of residential homes and lots of large commercial projects. To trench through that bridge would essentially cause probably more stormwater problems than doing what we're proposing. The C channel that is supporting that bridge would, if I cut through that, I'd have to rebuild the whole bridge. And to rebuild the whole bridge would
Yeah.
The town's
drop a
supposed
lot of
to
it.
eventually be rebuilt in that.
The town's looking into that right now.
I'm sorry, you have to state your name and address if you're gonna speak on
Okay,
this.
sorry. My name's Kelly Moore and I live at 183 Exchange Street, Leominster.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. There's only 3 houses that are on that road and we're one. So I would like to know, for one, are we gonna be blocked off in any way? Cause we have school, we have work, we have doctors, we have,
There wouldn't be
a busy
any,
life.
there wouldn't be any closure. While that work is being performed, there would be a mini excavator that would probably work up and down that street to trench. if he needs to move out of the way, he'll move out of the way.
Are you
He's-
sure? Because we've already had a few problems that they wouldn't move for us.
My people?
Yeah, we had to ask them nicely, and it still took them a while to move for us. They almost got upset with us. And
Okay,
it's
I'll
like, we're kinda
apologize.
like trapped on that road, we have no other way.
I-
And we'd have to drive on Mr. Brewer's whole yard to get around.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will talk to the guys up there, I'm not sure who you're referring to.
yeah,
If it was the guys in the white van, the roofers, I don't know.
yeah.
But I'll talk to those guys again. We are,
It's normally the white van that's.
they're gone, they're no longer needed at that project. The
Okay.
remaining work is,
It's like we asked them to pick up all the rubbish that's all over the place, and I guess they didn't speak English because they were having a hard time interpreting.
my plan now is that we're through this kind of soft winter is to get over there and do all the landscaping, get the whole place power wash cleaned up, paint.
No, I get it.
When I'm done, it'll look
I get
great.
it.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry
oh, yeah,
that if
I know,
it's been a little
it's
bit of a
time.
mess, but
But we were just figuring as they were going, because we weren't used to having rubbish all over the place, and rubbish is now into the woods, and I clean that road all the time, so I try to, yeah.
We gotta really, that's out of our jurisdiction.
Yes,
We can only really.
But I
The
do
public
need
hearing
to
hasn't
know.
been, the public hearing hasn't been opened yet, so if you please just wait till the
Okay,
chairman
yes.
opens it up.
All right, yeah, so, I mean, essentially, if there's trash, I mean, that's something we're gonna have to, if just make sure that, things are picked up as they go.
it will be. It'll be beautiful and spotless when I'm done, but I'll get some people over there to clean it up. It's not, I apologize, when you tear a roof off, there was a ton of shingles, and when you put a new roof on, the plastic that the shingles come packaged in sometimes blow away.
Yeah,
I will go up and clean up again, and just if you can hang in there, I promise you, it's gonna be beautiful when I'm done. I just wanna get the inside done, we're almost there, and obviously, getting through this hurdle right here.
All right, is there anyone else on the push that has any questions for right now?
The other houses that are in that area, are they also on cesspools?
yes, we are.
So
I don't know.
Let me play the devil's advocate. Let's say we're 5 years down the road and one of these other houses fails. Is this system gonna be large enough for them to be able to use it as well?
I don't believe so. This is,
So we'd have to go through the whole process all over again.
they would.
Yes. So unfortunately, I did talk to a couple of months ago, I think it was originally came up last year, actually, exactly a year ago. I spoke with Chris Knuth and John Roseberry, and basically he's not required to put it up the road and make it accessible for everyone else. It's kind of each homeowner's own responsibility, so we can't really incentivize that, unfortunately. That's not really something we have the jurisdiction to do.
So who owns the bridge, though?
It's privately owned.
I do.
So it's a common law driveway, which the city of Leominster no longer does because it causes too many issues with plowing. No one wants to assist each other. There's always issues, always civil issues that the city can't assist with. So it is privately owned, and the city does not own it.
So you own the bridge,
I own a
zero
bridge.
pipe, so I think that's all we can, I mean,
I'm not opposed to opening it up if you folks want to discuss adding a larger system, and I can tee off somewhere, or why, the cost just to get this far is pretty hefty, and if we want to redesign this pipe to come up and why up this direction, I mean, these are all elevations that were designed for that gravity system not to have too much flow either. And so, is there a way? Yes, there is a way for everyone to have a sewer if we decide as a private road or private driveway that I could run a larger pipe and potentially, Y up there and then stub the end of that. However, being a nice guy, I would certainly open it up to you guys. If you guys are happy with the septic system, if you want to tie into the city sewer instead of having a septic tank, then we can talk about it if you want, but and I don't know this is the first time I've met them, I've met their dogs. But the other homeowner here I've never met either, and apparently they're not here, so.
So that's,
But the cost incurring would be something that we would have to discuss.
That would be a whole new redesign of,
Right,
So-
right. But I'm not gonna be living there, guys,
Oh, yeah.
but as a friendly person, I would offer it, if you do want to go that route, we can discuss that and re-propose. My intent tonight was to obviously get this, ball rolling and hopefully ultimately get it approved.
Alright.
you know.
I was just thinking ahead.
yeah, no, I think that's.
I thought about it too, honestly, I did. And I spoke to, is it Roseberry about that also
yeah,
maybe?
it's
And,
very, yeah.
if I had to do that, he said no. So it was a thought that I had, whether the abutters want to consider that, we can have that conversation,
Yeah,
but.
but I mean, it's no different than when people do, like gas pipes. When they have private roads and a homeowner wants to connect to the gas pipe, and maybe it's 3 houses down from there is where it stubs off, they just pay to have it extended to their house and then connect to their house. They're not required to, make it go all the way up the driveway, which is in the future, if another homeowner wanted to do it, they would go ahead and do it themselves, and the gas company would come out and
Do the same thing again.
unstuff the pipe, put in new pipe, and then
I
connect
think
it to
what his
the
question
house.
ultimately is they wouldn't be able to do that to this pipe here, to my pipe. Not only the size of the pipe, but also the route it's taking. They could, if they wanted to, come out and tie into this as the owner of that land, and, I wouldn't roadblock you in any way if you wanted to. But I won't be owning that land, hopefully, after we get this done.
Yeah, we don't want, you also don't want, 3-4 sewer pipes hanging off.
Exactly,
of
I know.
a bridge, that's just 4 points of failure instead of one single one that. But it sounds like we get some homework to do, I wanna take a look at the site, we've gotta find out about the whole water fisheries. So that brings us at least 2 weeks out,
Okay,
which would give, if that's something you wanna discuss, if the neighbors want to discuss it with you, that's something you guys can take, as a side note, while we get, our ducks in a row.
okay.
So, but in the meantime, now I'm gonna officially open it up to the public.
Eric Moran, 183 Exchange Street. Initially, when we came here, we got the notice, we figured that it was gonna come off of the property and kind of follow the right of way, you know what I mean? Just outside the asphalt right of way, so it could evenly, because we figured you're gonna have to go on the outside of the bridge, because they're not gonna let you suspend something in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So we thought maybe, okay, if you came there, then, in talking, okay, well, just at the top where you make that, put a Y with a block-off plate for future, whatever, something we could agree on, whatever. I see what you're doing right now. We're not looking to extensively spend money to prepare for the future down the road right now. We're not in that position right now. But in the future, and I heard the thing about, and there's only 3 houses up there, Mr. Brewer, who is not here, he lives in the red house.
Yep.
He's retired, pretty much doesn't like to be bothered with much, has never come for any of the track and field meetings.
I've never seen it on my.
Whatever, very nice
Yeah,
guy.
sure.
Just doesn't like his lawn messed up, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's why we refuse to drive on his
Yeah.
lawn.
But anyways, in the future, we may be back here asking for a pipe to be put on that bridge as well. So what would our chances be in the future? And I get it, you don't want all these sewer pipes, but
Well, you'd have to get permission from the property owner first.
He owns the bridge.
He owns the bridge of that property.
Now, how did, and I get it, I see the property lines, because Doug's been up and showed us everything, Doug Ledger. who I'm sure you met, who
Up behind there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've spoken with some times, yeah.
We really can't, this is a conservation commission, that you're getting into things that,
We're only here to talk
Well,
about.
we're trying to
It's
figure out
just
the
the
bridge,
bridge.
that's what we're
We were
trying to figure
right,
out.
but that's not something that, that's not our
Well,
jurisdiction.
It's water, but we were told the city owns it, and the city is looking into replacing it, so why would the city replace it if he owns it?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, so at this time, I've been here for 2 years, and I've spoken with a couple different departments. The city does not own it. I don't know who told you that. If you have the name, you can definitely contact me via email. We can straighten this out. Right now, we're only talking about this permit. We can't talk about future permits right now. If you guys like to discuss something, I would love to meet with you to go over it.
We've
but
called
that's not-
City Hall before, and we're the reason the bridge has gotten fixed the way it's gotten fixed. Because the mayor has sent people out there.
Part of the bridge was caving in last spring, I don't know if you know that. And they had to come up there and
Pour concrete.
pour concrete, push up the barriers, and if you notice, it's starting to sink again. There's a sink spot again.
So I can contact DPW if you know who you guys have been speaking with
So, like,
directly.
if
If
it's
give me the
there-
information, I can look
if
into that.
it's
But right
this-
now, this isn't what we're talking about.
But
Well, it is
that
the
pipe
wetlands
will
area.
be
But what you're
going
talking about
on
has
that
nothing to do with the
bridge.
Wetland Protection Act. Right now, we're only talking about this permit, unfortunately, so we can't really go into anything else right now. This is the public meeting for this.
But yeah, it's
hearing
part of the
only.
public meeting process. We can only discuss what's
It's a-
legally, discuss what's on the agenda.
Yeah, so
proper.
per open meeting law, the city could get fined for discussing this as well as we could
Oh,
all get
okay.
fined. So, most definitely contact me tomorrow. We can go over anything. I can meet with you. We can discuss, options. Unfortunately, we can't do it right now.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And it's because the butters, like the gentleman that you said isn't here, like, if we were meeting on that, the bridge itself, he would have the right to, would wanna have the right to be notified and be here for the discussion
Like
potentially.
I say, we're under the impression the city owned it because back before we bought our house, there was money put aside to the city for the Army Corps of Engineers to replace that with a steel bridge, and they took the money and redid a bridge somewhere else in the city. So, I don't know where it changed hands, because of the ledges
Yeah, I
were
know the
there up
city,
until recently,
the
so.
city has to prioritize,
I know,
the
but how
roadways
did the
and-
city have money put aside?
well,
for
they
the
may not
bridge?
have got the money. I know, like,
They did,
Mr.
and
Chairman,
what
we
else
can't
was-
discuss this.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, grant money comes and goes,
That's,
so.
that's enough for me, because it does nothing.
Nothing for you. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, nothing to do.
No.
I promise you guys, it'll be beautiful when
Oh,
I'm
yeah, I
done.
can imagine.
Okay?
All right, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak relative to this? Third time? I'm gonna leave the public comment period open, since we are gonna have to discuss this at another meeting. And I apologize to everybody for how that kind of took a side note. But, is there any other, questions or comments from the commission?
I might know the answer to this, if it's just like a basic utility, but how deep is the pipe gonna be in the yard?
It'll be 4 feet plus.
Okay.
There are different elevations, for that pipe. So
Right.
typically a sewer pipe is,
Yeah,
Deeper than 4 feet,
they're
yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
deep
they're- yeah.
typically, right? Yeah.
when we get to the street, we're gonna be about 8 feet under the road, actually. So, yeah, that's gonna be a fun
It's always so
project.
shocking to me how deep some
And
of
it's
those.
it's
I
gonna
get
be
why,
tricky
but
over there
it's
too,
just-
but, I've done some crazy, tricky jobs and
Yeah. Okay.
Is that all sand, pretty much?
That whole
That you're
layer.
trenching through? That whole embankment is all sand?
On the far side, yeah, so I'm not really sure.
on the
what-
street side,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the top, the type of soils that are there. I haven't done any test pits, but
That road was built up pretty extensively though, I mean, as you can see, when
It's
they were
changed
doing the work, yeah.
So I can evaluate that. I know I do believe I saw that in the permitting, either for the Slack Brook restoration or for this one, I can't remember which one, because I've been looking at both of them for the past hour. So I can evaluate that and have an answer for the next meeting. Are you okay with continuing it to the March 10th meeting?
I'm fine with that. I don't believe I can do any of this work until after the moratorium of April 15th anyway, so.
All right, and obviously, you've already got a design, the city seems okay with it. Does the city actually review the plans? before the commission, like DPW and,
Yeah,
Board of
so
Health
for
is okay
utility
with-
connections, DPW will review it, as well as the Board of Health will review it. I've also sent it out to them for additional comments. I did hear back from Mr. Canute, but I haven't heard back from Mr. Roseberry.
Okay.
DPW's on different hours in City Hall, so.
no, you just, I mean,
I walked the site with the health department, and he actually was kind of, he was on board with
Yeah.
that versus putting another septic, or, this isn't a septic system, it's a cesspool, it's awful. But to put another septic, to put a septic system up here, he and I were, when we walked the property together, we talked about this, and he seemed to be on board with it, so.
I mean, you just described a very difficult situation with elevations. I'd hate to go through the whole process and have you find out that, you know, the city says, oh, no, you gotta move it over here, and now you gotta come back and, you know. But I mean, you're pretty confident that the way you propose
This,
is.
if they tell us I need to move this down here or something like that, then we'll just do, I would suggest doing an as-built then at
Yeah.
that point. This plan, we will follow this plan unless we're told otherwise.
Yeah,
And if we're told, hey, you need to drop this down and come hug the right of way down here, then we'll do that, and then we'll just produce this as an as-built,
Yeah.
showing exactly where that pipe is and what elevations we're at.
personally, and I mean, I don't speak for the whole board, but whatever has a less impact on the resource area is what I'd be in favor of. So obviously the DPW has, and then Board of Health has their own, but I mean, for us,
So make sure we're all communicating.
yeah, so that's why I'm saying, if we can get everybody on the same page and just make sure everybody's happy, but maybe they can do that in the next 2 weeks, just to
Yeah.
kind of get
I'll be able to get some answers.
and that way we can close it out and make sure everybody's happy.
I hope so.
I have one last question here. How much room is there on the roadway if you did remove the Jersey barriers?
Here, you mean?
Well, there's like 5 Jersey barriers on either side of the bridge.
Yes.
If you pulled those away, would there be enough room to lay the pipe in and just put the Jersey barriers back down? Instead of having the pipe suspended out over the river?
It would change the elevation then, if you want me to come up on top of the bridge, you mean?
Right.
I wouldn't achieve
You
the
would
pitch,
never
no.
know.
Because we're gonna be coming out of the ground where the slope begins, essentially below the top of that bridge. I wouldn't be able to get on top of that bridge. Plus, there's not much room. The Jersey barriers, let's say they're 10 inches wide at the base, that's about as wide as that bridge is.
Yeah, it's a narrow bridge.
Yeah. And believe me, I don't want to be a bridge owner.
Well, you saw what happened here.
I've never met those folks before, and so I apologize, but, but,
Happens
I
all the
mean,
time.
the concern, I understand their concern, it's just,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's not something that this board can help them with.
when they bought their house, they should have realized that the bridge was not theirs. But anyway, I'm easygoing guy. I want to, try to make them happy. I'm gonna make the house that's run down and just terrible looking, I'm gonna make it beautiful. And I need about 3 more months and I'll be out of there. And hopefully they're happy with looking at a shiny house versus a dump. I think the city would probably be happy that way also.
Anyone else from the commission? All right, so would like to request a continuance?
I would like to request a continuance. Thanks for working with me on that.
All in favor for a continuance?
Yeah.
Opposed? All right.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. So for the next meeting, do I get notified or should I just come here or?
I'll send you an email as well beforehand. I'll communicate with you throughout the week, just to kind of touch base on what I find out before the meeting, as well as with your representative.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And that. I'm sorry I didn't have a big colorful one. Does anyone want this copy?
No, it's okay.
All right.
Thank you.
And you have this, you said, right?
Yep, I have it.
NOI file?
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Mr. Chairman, can I request a quick 2-minute break?
All right, the We're gonna take a 2-minute recess, and we'll reconvene back here
Thank you.
a little before 7. We're gonna now move into the regular meeting, and we're gonna start with new business. We have the checklist, which is required for the new applications. And I took a look at it, and I thought it was extremely thorough and well done, and
I did make one change to it. Amanda had pointed out to me that I had missed one spot where I could put a box for not applicable, so I added that in. That's the only change I made.
so I guess the best thing to do is just, do we have to vote it in? I mean, it might be good to kind of vote it in as
I would
a
like-
best
yeah.
practice, and then
But I
that
can
way
put
it's
on the
official.
website, it's like our policy
Yeah.
as well, so.
And, yeah, I guess just try it out, and as you find things that don't work, or if people make comments that, things that they can always be brought back to make modifications.
I think it'll take a huge chunk of my time back from having to chase after people, so.
I think it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was very, very well done. I think it's,
Yeah.
I think it'll
it's
save
awesome.
me a little bit.
go with that.
Well, and that one's more thorough than
Yeah, than
even
some of the
a
other
lot of
ones.
other cities,
Yeah.
because we have now the steps to take, like, once you actually finish your project, it's all laid out for you to be able to check off as you go, which I also think is gonna be super helpful for people who are requesting certificates of compliance, to have it right in front of them what they need to do before they can submit.
And they're realistic expectations. It's not a list of unnecessary demands. These are like just everyday things that,
It's all things
good
that should be
housekeeping.
provided with the application
Yeah.
anyways, and then things, for example, who am I sending the legal ad to? Some people prefer it to go to the engineer, some people prefer it to go to the homeowner or the applicant, if it's like an RDA, things like that, or who am I sending the original copy to? Instead of emailing 7 people and waiting for a response back and forth, or waiting for people to come around, I know exactly where to send it, so.
I think it's excellent.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the proposed checklist to become part of the filing policy for Leominster Conservation.
Any discussion or a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Nice.
All right. Record request policy. Record request policy acceptance and change.
So, per Mass General law, so, in order for somebody to get access to the files, they have to make a record request. Something in my office I noticed has become a lot more difficult for me is that people call up and they want to do a file review over the phone, which being the only person in the office, that takes about an hour. I have to get on the phone with them, call them back. It's a lot of back and forth calling, looking through different files. It's time consuming, and then I don't have a record that they actually requested that record. So for example, if a person calls, they're looking to buy a home, to look at a file, I may just give them exactly what's in the file over the phone, but nothing's in writing, and then they walk away. I don't have proof that they asked for the information, that I didn't just give it to them. So the City Hall does have a record request form that is filled out for all the departments for anyone who wants to request records. There's a 10-day period that I have to fulfill that request. I wanted to post this on the website so I could tell people, you go to the website, fill out this form, and email me, because it is very time consuming. I come back and I have, from lunch, I have 5 record requests. I have to call them back and forth, get more information. This way all the information's on one page. I know exactly where to send it, if they want hard copies or email. And this will help me kind of also get all the files scanned in slowly. So I just wanted to bring it to the Commission's attention, because it is a struggle.
Yeah, no, I mean, your
They'll drop
time
by
is,
randomly all the time just to review files, and if I'm not there, they get upset, so.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to drop everything for something like that. It has to be something, a realistic expectation that you fit into your schedule
Yeah.
within a
And if I
reasonable
can, I
amount of
usually
time.
do very quickly if I'm able to, but sometimes, a lot of the times, these files are more complicated than what meets the eye.
So this is something that they could even just like email back to you?
Yep, so it'll be a PDF I'm gonna put on the website, via hyperlink or some way, and they can download it, fill it out, and send it back, or they can just put the information in email, the ID that's on the form, and send it to me. This way I have an actual record of who requested it and why, and then also whatever I say is also gonna be reported, so it's not, oh, she said it's fine, it's not a big deal, then come back 5 years later.
Yeah.
Very reminiscent of the Willow Street incident, so.
And this record request policy is the same that other departments? are
Yes, it's
using?
throughout the city, so usually they, well, for example, if somebody wanted to look at a file in the building department, they have to go into the building department, they have to sign the book, or if they want copies, they have to fill out a whole record request form. It's sent out from the city clerks, but each department has their own as well, because sometimes people don't go to the city clerk to get a record request for planning or conservation. So we all have our own forms, and I just want to let the commission know that that's what we'll be doing, in case anyone approaches you, as well as I wanted to put it on, our meeting minutes, so the public would be aware as well.
No, I think it's a good,
Mm-hmm.
it's a better use of your time, that way you can, budget your time a lot better than,
Yeah.
and that way there's an expectation that, they, looking at the form, if they know it could take up to 10 days,
And normally it never takes me that long,
Yeah.
but also just in case it's a larger file. And I would like to have it in writing what my response is to them, because it protects myself and the commission.
No, but you get busy, I mean, depending on the time of year, you're gonna be out in the field a lot more come the warmer weather, so.
Kind of a way to keep things moving.
Is this something that we can vote on tonight, or do we have to review this and come back at the next meeting, or?
It sounds like it's already a city hall
I
policy, so I think.
yeah, it's already established. I just want to kind of put it out there a little more
Yeah.
officially, as well as I want the commission, to be okay with me putting it on the website.
Oh, I definitely think it's.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt the record review policy currently in place by the city of Leominster to be used for the Conservation Commission, both in the office and on our website.
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Nice.
Killing it.
Admin approval form.
So this is another form that was brought to my attention by a couple other communities that they're using it to basically make a paper trail. I thought I printed out copies, but I don't believe I did. So basically, I have it right here on my computer. It's mainly for exemptions, so you have a paper trail, so if someone says, oh, I wanna put a fence in my backyard, you can go through and there's like different check boxes, like what's the resource area? If it is, and it says, for example, your proposed project is within the wetland or buffer zone but has been allowed because of the following provisions. And then, there's order conditions, or removal of hazardous trees, for example, for like emergency certifications.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this.
And then as it goes down, like there's exemptions listed, and you can also refuse and say, there's a box here, according to our maps, the work you propose is not within the wetlands or buffer zone, but these exist on your property. If you intend to expand, change, or scope, or nature of your project, regrading, cutting, vegetation, etc., consult the Conservation Commission, as a permit may be required. And this is just kind of adding like another paper trail to it, because someone may call the office and say, oh, can I put a fence up in my yard? Yeah, as far as I know, you can. And then it comes back, oh, no, I told you there was wetlands. And,
Yeah.
and also, it just adds a larger paper trail, and it also takes away any sort of doubt.
So we could have a file on a property even if they haven't
Exactly.
come before us.
Exactly, and obviously everything will be scanned in and be public record, but this also protects the homeowner, which
Yeah,
I
no, I
think
think
will be
that's-
handy for them, and it educates them on what to do and what not to do. For example, pedestrian walkways for private use, all the exemptions are on that little sheet. There's a box for it, so whatever it is, I can check it off. Like, it's conversion of lawn for residential structures for a deck, and in the outer 80 feet, which is exempt, and I can make a note on here. But if your work extends further, you need to contact the Conservation Commission, so then they can't be like, oh, I didn't know.
So is that something you can just share out and we can,
Yep, I think it might be in the Google Drive already.
all right, we can vote on
Let's
that
check.
next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's helpful too, when you inevitably get the phone calls by people who, they don't wanna tell you who they are, but they're like, I was on this street and I saw this person doing this.
Exactly.
And it allows you to at least search that address and not have to take your time again to like go out and check something out and then realize like, oh wait, I've already
been here.
Yeah, I've already been here, I've spoken to this homeowner.
It makes the research a little bit easier for myself,
Yeah.
as well as if there's other departments involved. I can kind of give them a copy so that it protects them. For example, the building department has a new form where myself, the health department, DPW, and planning, before a certain project that involves site work or any large sort of disturbance, they have to get signatures from all these departments. For example, we've had 2 new houses, they're not in a resource area, but they had to come to my department and speak with me. I had to explain to them, and I signed off. And since they have it, like, we know that they're aware that if they do find a wetland and on their property, it's a large property, that they are responsible for filing for that, and if I go out there for an enforcement order, they kind of already pre-warned. But in most cases, there's, like, for example, there was no resource area on this property, so. Those kind of go hand in hand with that, so then they know if something's exempt, oh, this is why it's exempt. And then this adds more to the paper trail.
Anything that helps make the process
Makes it a little easier for homeowners,
everybody.
I think, too.
All right, we have one more thing, which is the election of the new chair and vice chair. We're gonna just move that off to the end of the meeting, if that's all right. We got a few more things to take care of here. We have 3 certificates of compliance, 33 Nass Farm Road, DEP file number 199-970, 20 Nass Farm Road, DEP file number 199-1007, and 26 Nass Farm Road, DEP file number 1078. Those are all continued until springtime, until we get some growth.
So I'm gonna go out to these sites actually probably this week, just because it's been lovely out and there's no snow on the ground, just to see if there's any growth as it is, because originally when these were turned in, there was snow on the ground. And if that's the case at the time, I'll put it on for the next meeting.
Okay. And we have 3 Royal Oaks Way, DEP file number 199-1066, same thing, continue until springtime. And extension permits,
None at this time.
communications,
None at this time.
and meeting minutes. We do have 3 meeting minutes listed here. I do apologize, I didn't get a chance to review them. So I think based on the quorum, potential issues and things like that, it might be best if we just, you want to hold off till the next meeting. And I apologize to everybody for taking up valuable space on the agenda and not being able to utilize it.
May I say, if
Yes.
anyone has any comments on them, if you just want to email them to me, and I can go through and reevaluate. I know Mr. Colombo has already made a comment to me about it. Just if you like send me a text message or we talk on the phone, I might forget because it's very busy in our office right now.
So just for the record, it was June 25th, 2019, January 21st, and January 28th of this year. 3. We have enforcement, 9 Penny Lane, along with the 2 Mary Ave extension projects. This is continued until the next meeting on March 10th. Do we have any emergency certifications?
None at this time.
Project update requests. Anyone from the commission have any requests for any outstanding projects or?
No.
All right. Budget. We rich?
Yes.
Always.
All right.
Under budget, I went through our recent accomplishments, and I just wanted to let the commission know how much work we've done this past year, if that's okay. So in the past year, we received 30 NOIs and ANRADs. We issued 25 orders of conditions. We had 14 requests for determination of applicability, 24 certificates of compliance, 12 extension permits, 15 unofficial verbal enforcements, 8 official enforcements, 6 emergency certifications, and a total of 107 physical permits issued, not including any verbal communications or complaints from the office that the commission's worked on, and I wanted to thank the commission for their hard work this past year.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Based on the fact that, how many did you say we had?
107 total.
Now, if we had 107 total permits and
That's including emergency certification.
Yeah. Just having done the agent role on a part-time basis in the past, and those numbers weren't nearly that at that time. Are you able to do this and do the field work? I mean, the amount of time that.
It's challenging. I am spending a lot of time in the office. I'm not sure if this is just a freak year or what.
No, it just seems like a very high number for.
It is. I've compared it to a couple other communities. I'm going to be bringing this to the city's attention when we do our budget review.
And I mean, I guess it's only going to get higher because, there's less and less land out there. So everything is close to a wetland.
And the regulations are getting tighter. For example, floodplain regulations, they'll be changing the maps at some point, and I believe they're adding on areas in the floodplain. So that will make more permits for us. So I just want to thank the commission for everything they've done.
Thank you.
And all the hard work you guys have been putting into this year.
All right. Thank you. so we have, the next meeting is Tuesday, March 10th, 2020. The deadline has already passed for the next meeting. The deadline was February 21st, 2020 at noon time. And the final item on the agenda is the election of the new vice chair and chair.
I have a question before we do that.
Yes.
The gentleman who was at the last meeting, Angela, do you have any idea when he will be able to go before the selectmen? Or not the selectmen, the
City council.
City council, I mean.
So myself and Dean, we met with him last week for an interview process. So the next step in the process would be Mayor Mazzarella would appoint him, and then we put on the city council agenda for one time, and then we put on the city council agenda for a second time where he would meet the city council. At this time, that has not happened as far as I know. I am working with the mayor's assistants right now to figure out what's going on.
So how often does city council meet?
Don't know if that's,
Is it every other week?
So I think it's every other week,
So, that's a good point. I mean, if this person doesn't get appointed,
we may have, and I have been alerting the applicants that have been turning applications. I do have 4 new applications for the next meeting, to either get me everything that I need before the meeting, talk to DEP, or we might have to do a continuance or do a special meeting, depending on the situation at the time. I don't believe we'll be able to have a quorum for April. And we did receive a second application. I just don't know, we've had difficulty scheduling an interview due to his work hours, so I worked that out.
have him come to the next meeting. Have him and the mayor come, they can have it.
Well,
on the
maybe,
fly.
yeah.
They can watch the meeting. No, but that's good that we get 2. It sounds like we have 2 people that are interested, which is excellent. From April, we really need to.
It is awesome, as well as Sandra Murphy from the library. She's designing a flyer to hang up at the library as well, to help out and bring more awareness that we need
That's
some
good.
assistance here. Hopefully we'll get more.
All right, so with that, do we want to have any discussion regarding the election of a new vice chair and chair? Just for the, I think I've already said it, obviously, next month will be my last month. So I just want to make sure that my name was withdrawn from either of those for consideration.
We can't re-elect you for 2 more meetings.
I'm withdrawn.
And my letter of resignation has been mailed, and it will be effective on April 8th. So technically, March 24th would be my last meeting. So we're down to 3. End of
So
this.
not a quorum. So we don't have a commission if we have 3 members at the time, and we won't be able to have meetings. At that time, the appointing authority becomes the Conservation Commission.
So that's city council or the mayor?
That would be the mayor, because it's appointed by the mayor and then approved by city council.
But we have 2 people that are interested, so we just have to,
So basically,
Try
I
to
have
get
to,
them.
I have to see what, because I know, from my understanding, that if there, the state said that typically that only happens when there's no one interested. So I kind of have to reevaluate. I did send an email out to the lawyers to see what the best course of action to be, if the mayor would just have to sit in for a couple of meetings, if that's what happens, or if we should just cancel
Yeah.
the meetings and continue them until the quorum has been fulfilled.
so he could actually sit on the board
And Phyllis, okay,
during the time of,
okay.
The interim.
like, he does it on the school committee, he sits as a member of the board.
Yeah.
But I think that, I mean, that's different.
And
But,
I have to evaluate because it says
it's-
that they become the appointing authority.
oh,
If
that
there's
he
not
would
officials,
become.
so it would be a 1 person, so he would be the Conservation Commission, from my understanding. So that's why I sent out to legal, because that's how the regulations are worded. Typically that clause, it's under the definition of what a Conservation Commission is for when they have a board of selectmen, because it's more than 1 person, from my understanding, in my discussions with the state. So we have to kind of evaluate what the,
Well, just appoint the mayor as chairman.
well, we can wait till the next meeting and invite him to discuss that if you'd like.
Right, so you were saying you think, though, that might be the case if there was no one else interested in joining the commission, but since we do have 2 people.
Yes, I'm waiting for I'm waiting to talk to the city solicitors as well as the state again about it, just to kind of see
Sure.
what the process is. I think hasn't, we have 4, and I'll be in 2 more, so I'll probably only be in 7 more permits that might be on those next meetings. And at the, so might better just continue it, continue them and not cancel the meetings, but like reschedule the meetings. Or what could happen is we could have the meeting, have discussions, but then the city would have to absorb the cost for the re-advertisement because it's not really fair. It's not the applicant's fault.
And the applicant could realistically just appeal it after 21
That's
days.
another option as well. But that's not ideal, and the state's trying not to have that happen because it's gonna cause a lot of delays in the process.
But I mean, there could be something that the commission hypothetically could like be opposed to, that because the 21 days went by, they would actually not even have the opportunity
Yeah, to speak
to
on
voice
it.
their.
So,
So it's important that,
yeah, if you know anyone else, it's really important. So I'm working on it, it's on my sticky notes.
all right, well, I mean, we're gonna have 2 meetings in March for our city council.
Yes,
So realistically, if they could be appointed before the next, if they could be on the,
so I believe,
if one person could be on the agenda for the first meeting of March for the city council,
let me see when that is.
and
They wouldn't be able to be appointed until the
the second one, which means they would be fine for April.
Right.
So realistically, that they would.
Right, because they don't have to go to the first meeting, right?
No, I
They're on
think
the
it's the
agenda,
second
and then
meeting
it's
they
just
want
the
to
second
with you.
Second reading,
And they
Yeah.
can get sworn in, I think I got sworn in, I mean,
You can
at
get
the time
sworn in
you do it,
after-
to just be
right
sworn in
after.
by a,
Stop zooming. So they meet the second and fourth Monday.
a notary.
Yeah.
They
So I
just go
actually
into
got
the clerk.
sworn in the first
Yeah.
meeting.
I don't know how to zoom out. Just trying to look in there. Okay, going to the second and fourth Monday. Fourth and 15. I'm just trying to make sure that we have a city council meeting in March.
Is there an when is that, isn't there an election, that's not March, though, right? The
Oh,
primaries?
March, that's March 3rd. So that's what I was thinking. I don't know if they'll be having meetings.
That'd be on a Tuesday, though, right?
Right.
And they meet on Monday, or
They
they?
meet on Monday, so if it could
So we
actually
should-
work out to have them for the March 24th meeting. But I do, the mayor is the appointing authority, so we're kind of waiting on.
So,
Yeah.
well, as the chair, I'll write a letter, or not a letter, an email to the mayor asking him to see if that's something that we can, yeah.
Foreseeably do.
if we can just get him to, if he's comfortable with an appointment. I mean, that's ultimately his decision to appoint it, he's gotta put his name behind it, but at least we can express the sense of urgency to get somebody in place if he's comfortable with the appointment.
I think he understands the sense of urgency. I just don't know. It's been really busy at City Hall the past
Yeah.
couple weeks. Just a number of things happening.
But I mean, I don't wanna do nothing,
Exactly. No, I
Yeah.
understand.
so.
Yeah, so it looks like City Council is meeting on the 11th. I'm sorry, I can't get to go up. March 9th, and then it doesn't look like they're meeting on March 23rd as far as I can tell. I can confirm with the city clerk tomorrow though.
Okay. And if not,
I'll have to look in the charter and see if there's any sort of loophole where, I think the mayor is allowed to appoint people for emergency situations. I just have to read the verbiage and see what the actual process is for that.
Well, you'd be covered for the 24th meeting, our meeting, right?
And if not, I don't think.
yeah, we're good
it'd
for
be-
March, it's just
Right.
April that's
And when's the first meeting in April? For us?
For us, the second Tuesday.
in the second Monday, so
It'll be
realistically.
April 7th, so you will still be here on April 7th.
That's the first Tuesday.
Darn it. April 14th.
So, but the city council meeting is one day before that.
Yeah, so it is possible we'll have somebody before that.
So if somebody could get appointed and sworn in, then they would be
Right,
eligible.
and they'd be in place for the 14th.
So,
And when is your resignation effective, what day?
I just said I was done, and I would be
That's last meeting,
done,
March
so it will be
24th.
March.
Right. So April 14th is your career.
Because I don't actually know the date, the actual end of the appointment. I know it's April, but I don't know
Right.
the actual date. so I just made it for like April 1st.
I don't know if you wanna wait till the next meeting to do appointments, or if you guys would like to do it now.
We should do it now. Because a new person's not gonna be
Yeah.
taking either one of those slots, right?
Thank Donna. Yeah.
So Amanda, would you be comfortable if I nominated you as the new chairman of the Leominster Conservation Commission?
Yes, that's fine.
Then I nominate Amanda.
I would second that. Any discussion, or anybody else that would like to be considered for the
Anybody wanna
position?
fight me for it?
I'm good.
All yours.
I don't know about, are you good?
I don't know how generous you guys are.
All right, so all in favor? Opposed? Abstained, I guess? You,
Should I
Congratulations.
abstain from
I don't know
myself?
how that works.
Vote for yourself.
Can you vote for yourself?
If you want.
No, I don't wanna do that. That just seems silly.
Congratulations.
Motion passes.
You can watch all the meetings online, Paul.
I will. I'll keep up with you guys.
Can we nominate her for VP too?
Yeah, I think you have to have a separate person,
Can I
vice chair.
Can I do both?
Yeah.
I think we'd better have two in case you're not here. I mean,
Yeah,
the vice
you-
chair has to carry the meeting on, so.
I was
Yeah.
joking.
Okay.
I was completely joking.
This is not a joke.
That'll be a fun.
Well, I did my part in nominations. I guess, Larry, you should nominate
No,
somebody.
this is something that, it's a personal thing. I mean, I know there were a lot of times when I was a senior person and I didn't step up to do it for, you know, things I had,
Sure.
things going on with school and things that,
Mhm.
so. Is there, either you interested in?
I can do it, that's fine by me.
All right.
Okay, because he's excited, I'm gonna nominate Sam
All right.
for vice chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained? All right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Sam. All right. So we have a new vice chair and chair, so
It'll-
effective right now?
Well, it'll be good because you guys will both still be here in
Yeah,
March.
that's kind of why we thought it would be good.
I will be here for the first meeting in March, but not the second meeting,
Not the second meeting.
because I'm on vacation. So it'll be good for, I think, us both to have a chance while
Sure.
Yeah.
everything's kind of the same.
I'll send you guys the regulations and stuff.
Oh boy.
I'm very excited.
Nice. That's
So
good.
I'm the chairwoman.
All right, you want to take over? There's only one left.
You're the chairman now.
One more thing to do.
There's only one
On
chair.
purpose.
We just have to adjourn, so.
Yeah, do we have to actually, like, make a motion to do that? Because I
You
feel
should.
like- Yeah. Do I have a motion to adjourn from tonight's meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
You want a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
It's 7:26.
Meeting closed.